Well, hi everyone, welcome along. It is another little video from me, MotoGoYo, and today I am outside. And I decided to come out on the bike because in many respects, and I know there are lots of views about this, but actually I am pretty much self-isolated. I mean, out here there are very few people about. There are some cars about on the road and there are one or two people walking, but in general it is pretty much an isolated position to be in out on a motorbike, because you've got all the gear on, you've got a helmet on, you've got pretty much all the protection from whatever's going on outside, and getting a bit of fresh air, a mild bit of exercise I suppose, and you're just kind of out and about mucking up the bike, and that's pretty much what I am here out in the countryside doing. So I'm going to have a little run about today. Hope you'll stay tuned and we'll go on a bit of a ride. So I'm just taking it really nice and steady, just having a little run about really. Not pushing any boundaries whatsoever. Don't want to have any accidents, don't want to put any pressure on the NHS. Want to do absolutely the right thing, because we want to just make sure everybody gets whatever treatment they need if they do need to go into hospital, and I don't want to be using up their services. So got that out the way up front, and not that I've ever had to use so far, touch wood, the medical services when I've been out on my bike, so I'm hoping today is no different. And yeah, just having a little run about, just getting a bit of fresh air. I have been pretty much in the house nearly all the way through this whole event. I've had to go on occasions to some of the buildings that I work in, and that has resulted in me coming into contact with other people. But generally speaking, I have been quite lucky in getting the shopping coming through from the supermarkets through the online deliveries, but that seems to have now all come to an end, because when I went to try and renew my order for next week, every single slot was booked, or at least they'd taken down that facility, which I assume is either because everybody is in the same way as they're panic buying, everybody is panic shopping online, or because they are keeping those spaces free for those people who absolutely need to self-isolate. And if they're doing that, I'm absolutely fine with it. It would be just good for them to put a message on their websites to explain that. I've tried Asda, I've tried Tesco's, I've tried Morrison's. I haven't tried Sainsbury's. I don't tend to shop there generally. I tend to shop now at Morrison's because I think their food is, in my opinion, generally slightly better. But yeah, I just am managing like everybody else, I suppose, to get what they need. I certainly haven't been out panic buying. I am getting to a stage where yes, I could be somebody who runs out of toilet rolls, because I've been to the supermarket and the shelves for toilet rolls were absolutely empty. The shelves for washing up liquid were empty, and what else? Quite a few bits and pieces were empty. All of the fresh food shelves seem to be nice and full. Vegetables and so on all seem to be full. Meat seemed to be full, but that was it. And the tinned products, so any tinned products were pretty much not entirely empty, but you literally had like the last scrapings of whatever they put out there were still available. So pretty much on the whole, the supermarket near me is subject to those, I'm guessing by you as well, wherever you are watching this in the world, are also suffering the same issues. So Yes, I suppose we're entering very new times. This is a very new world that we're moving forward into, where we're going to have to start spending time being more considerate to each other. And when you look at social media in the last 5 years, you can see how that has degraded the way people communicate with each other. That it has set this kind of new norm that everybody should be trying to find bad in each other. And of course people say it's old and in humour. But let's be honest, a lot of that humour isn't really in good taste. And so we really do have to now think differently and start to behave differently, I think, in looking after each other's interests, because by looking after somebody else and making sure they stay healthy and can avoid the virus and don't have to do 4 or 5 trips to the supermarket because they couldn't find what they needed on the shelves the first time they went there, then the better for us, because we can't really just protect ourselves unless we're going to walk around wearing hazmat suits for the rest of our lives. So I think it's pretty important to think about others as well as thinking about ourselves at times like this. So what are you doing? How are you treating this COVID-19 coronavirus situation? For me, pretty much at the minute, I can work from home, and I am working from home, so in some respects I'm lucky in that regard. Although I don't know if I'm lucky in the job that I actually do at all at the moment. It's pretty stressful at times, and if I didn't have to do it, I have to be honest, I absolutely wouldn't right now. But I can work from home, so I am doing. I'm trying to limit the amount of time I spend going outdoors, and this is really quite a rare example for me to get out. You'll have noticed that I haven't been putting up any motorbike videos or any outdoor videos now for some time, and that's partly because I've literally been just staying in and actually working most of the time. So it's been work more than much else that's been stopping me from getting out. But cut the corner, why don't you? We'll just stop here because this is a bit of an odd junction. Get a good view both ways. Could be here for some time at this rate. No, away we go. Okay, yep, all good. So yeah, pretty much just staying at home, trying to find things to do, spending a lot of time of course on the internet, watching a bit of Netflix, watching some people who do live streaming as well to sort of keep myself mildly entertained, just doing all sorts of things really, creating a few graphics here and there just to keep my hand in on that kind of stuff. I'm just trying to, I suppose, cut down the boredom. And one thing, you know, a lot of people have said is they don't know what to do with themselves and they don't know what to do to kill the time. And what I would say is that if you are able to get access to a computer, and I'm assuming in some way, shape or form, if you're watching this video you are doing, is consider teaching yourself with online offerings to do new things. You know, the future is going to need people who can do things that people can use remotely, even if we get into a new world where virus has become a much major part of our way of life and we change some of our ways of working to be at home more and so on. People are still going to need the ability to work from home, use technology, do all the things that we do. And if you can learn how to code things like apps and websites and use new technology, then of course you are helping yourself to develop a future for yourself. So why not use some of this time to get out there, look online, see what's available, because there are a lot of free resources now available to help you make a future for yourself. Now, another thing, I have been watching quite a lot of YouTube stuff on news items and so on about the coronavirus, but also about other things. And one channel that I came across that I thought was particularly good at helping to explain some of the medical kind of background to viruses, fevers, the importance of social distancing, explaining how the immune system works and so on, was a guy on YouTube who's called Dr. John Campbell. Dr. John Campbell. If you, I'll try and remember to link to his channel below. If you watch his videos, you'll get to appreciate some of the kind of the background stuff, some of the importance, some of the setting of where today the world is with the coronavirus, and perhaps where we'll be headed next in terms of him discussing some of the modelling, some of the expectations, and some of the impacts of if we do take the social distancing seriously or if we don't. And he explains that very well. He explains it in a way that the average person can understand, and I think his videos are excellent, and I've really appreciated watching them in the last number of weeks. So hopefully that video, that channel will be of interest to you guys too. So go and check out his channel. I think it's well worth a visit, well worth a look. Yeah, so please do go and have a little nosy and see what you think. And what else can I tell you about? What else is going on in the old MotoGoYo world? I'm not sure. I'm just trying to think here which way I'm going to go next. My riding is a little bit scrubby today. I'm kind of a bit out of out of habit, I suppose, of doing things in a nice and clean and better way than I'm doing today. I'm just kind of getting back into the swing of it. I mean, it is kind of the start of the biking season anyway, so this would be like the first couple of weeks you're kind of knocking the dust off and just getting yourself back into it. But obviously, with what we're probably likely to face in the coming weeks and months, I suspect we are likely to be at some point in a lockdown situation, and that lockdown situation will no doubt prevent anybody from leaving their homes, regardless of how well kitted out they are and how isolated they are from others. So yes, I suspect we might not see very much of any of the people who currently make videos on their motorbikes being out and about in future weeks and months. So we might miss the whole of summer 2020, which I think would be a shame, but if we get into that situation, I can understand why. Still quite a few cars kicking about, lots of stuff still going on. I suppose if people are walking in isolation, it doesn't really make much difference, but it's where they're going to that I think is more important. And one thing I just wanted to talk a little bit about was some of the social interacting that requires us to be nearer each other. I think is going to be where we find hotspots of the spread of the virus. I think at the minute, the way things are being done, it seems to be unavoidable that we have to go to supermarkets to get our food. So one of the hotspots that we're going to all be faced with, I think, even if we don't have to go to a place of work, and I know a lot of you guys who are watching this video will have to physically go to a place of work, but if you don't have to go to a place of work and you can work from home, then one place you can't really avoid is going shopping for food, because of course you need to eat. So my experience of going to the supermarket on, I think it was Friday, or may have been Thursday, can't remember, was just how, first of all, how busy it was. It was very busy. Secondly, how many items I had to leave without. I mean, I literally came out with sort of half a bag of shopping because so many of the things that I wanted weren't available. But also, how many people in that store were elderly and therefore vulnerable to catching the virus. And then as I walked around, I saw, I think it was 4 or maybe 5 different people who looked particularly ill, looked feverish, and were coughing repeatedly, which, you know, could have been, may have been, that they had been infected with the coronavirus, and therefore walking around the supermarket they'd be spreading it significantly. So I do worry, I think, most about people having to go to supermarkets to buy food, and I do think the government are going to have to very quickly work out a way of increasing the ability for people to order food online and have it delivered directly to them at home if they want them to isolate, as much as they know they're going to have to get them to isolate to reduce and delay the spread of the virus. So what are they going to do? Well, my only thoughts and suggestions really are that they could utilize some of the existing capabilities with companies like Amazon, who already have the ability to do same-day deliveries for other products. They're very, very well organized, very, very well adept at delivering these services speedily. And given we are in a time of crisis, governments where this service exists could be saying, can we utilize Amazon? Can we get Amazon to support us in getting food out to people who need it? Of course we can use the army, and that always is kind of the last resort, to bring the army in to help. But in the meantime, it would seem like a decent thing to do to get those people in the roles they're used to doing. Now, of course, they'd be handling different products. You know, at the minute, maybe they're handling electronic goods, and of course that would have to stop for now until the world got back to some level of normality, and I suspect that's going to be a minimum of 3 to 6 months before we get there. And they could instead deliver shopping, food, vital supplies. I'm going to have to just come around this guy because he's deciding to cling into that space and move faster as I'm trying to get forward. Yeah, they could lend their skills, their technology, their abilities to delivering food to people and saving people, not only those people who are more critically vulnerable to this virus, but also, you know, people in general, to stop the circulation, to stop the, or at least delay significantly the spread of the virus, would be to keep everybody at home. And if they're going to do that, they've got to come up with a way of doing it. Companies like Amazon could help. In addition, it's great to see that some organisations are using their capabilities, using their technology, and adapting in a time of crisis, just like they would in a kind of wartime situation. They are Formula One teams, for example, are now trying to develop and use their skills and abilities to make ventilators rather than making Formula One cars, which I think is fantastic, and thank the Formula One industry for being innovative and looking and finding ways of supporting what needs to be supported. We're going to need a lot of ventilators very quickly around the world, and I think Italy is a prime example of seeing how that is the case. And I know this is a long video mainly about the coronavirus, and hopefully I'll talk a little bit about biking at some point, but it is the hot topic at the moment, isn't it? And so I think it is important that we do spend a little bit of time talking about it. But one thing that does concern me, and I've seen a lot of messages on Facebook from people who I had otherwise considered sensible, saying how they think people are overreacting to the virus and its spread and its impact. I have removed a lot of people. You know, my friends circle now on Facebook is probably very small, because I have removed a lot of people who are just passing very much the wrong messages out to anybody who reads their messages, because it is without a shadow of a doubt a life-changing impact, this whole virus situation. It's a sea change in the infection rates that are possible, and at the moment, from the limited data we have, it appears to be more aggressive than the influenza virus. So everything with any common sense, let alone scientific sense, tells you that you've got to do something to protect people against the virus. So are people exaggerating? No, they're not. This is very serious, and people need to take it very seriously. So hopefully, you know, anybody watching this video, you may have different views, but please read, please look, please listen to those people who know what they're talking about. The experts will tell you that we need to be treating this seriously. Now, younger people think that they are almost invincible to getting this virus, and if they get this virus, that they'll just breeze on through it. But you only have to look at some of the statistics recently from the States to see that a lot of people between 25 and 50 are now getting the virus and require medical intervention to get through it. And what medical intervention means in this context is that you're laid in a bed, either having oxygen, which is the best of those scenarios, you are having to be ventilated, which is the next best of those situations, or you die. You know, people, younger people will catch the virus just like anybody else at the same rates. Will they fight it off better? Yes, they will. They've got better immune systems. They're younger, they're healthier. In many cases, they don't have underlying health issues. Will they be invincible? Of course not. You know, some of them will end up in critical care. Some of them will end up needing oxygen. Some of them will end up needing to be ventilated. And from what I've heard, and I've heard and seen a lot of people's individual stories about this in the last 3 weeks, the experience isn't one that you would wish on anybody, you know. So look, let's make this the end of the chat on coronavirus, but I would say, you know, whatever you can do, try. If you're a biker and you're out like this, in my personal view, and I'm not a medical communicator on this subject, but if you are out and you're entirely isolated like this, you're doing good to your mental state. You're not becoming hysterical over or obsessing over all of the facts that are out there, or all of the non-facts that are out there. Then in my personal view, as long as you don't come into contact with others, as long as you make sure that you are keeping yourself covered up, that you are not showing any of the symptoms, and you're being very sensible about it, following all the advice, then in my personal opinion this is fine. I can't see how I in any way at the minute am impacting anybody else. Now of course, if you're riding dangerously, then as always, if you end up in hospital, you are going to cause the NHS work that it really absolutely doesn't need. So just think carefully about your riding. Now for everybody else who is going to be largely stuck at home, and probably after today I'll be largely stuck at home, then just do what you can to get through it, I guess, and all the very best to everybody out there. Hope everybody remains well. I'm hoping that a vaccine will be speeded up through the process. People are talking about it being next year before it's available in doctors' surgeries to inject into people's arms. And personally, I am hoping that with agile development, if they really wanted to push this by September, I think they could do something at a pace we've not seen before, and they could get something out by September if they really pushed all of the stages of testing. We already know there are 10 plus candidate vaccines out there. Some of them already have started initial testing, so let's just hope, fingers crossed, that those get out there, get tested and become available at scale as soon as possible. Anyway, apart from that, I hope you're doing well. I'm just out on the bike today. The bike's still doing well. I've only done 3,872 miles on this bike. What have I had it now for? Must be about 18 months. Is it 18 months? Yeah, I think so. And in that time I've only done that mileage, so it's it's very much a case of not getting used very much. I've also got the Grom still, that's still in the garage, sitting there again, not very low mileage. I got that last year, so not really had the opportunity to get out much on the bike, but it is nice to just get out here a little bit and have a little bit of a break from the stresses and strains of the world. This next week I've got a week off, and what am I going to do with it? Well, I don't know yet. I shall have to see. I'll have to see what happens. If I can get out a little bit, I possibly will do. If I can't get out, then I'll probably either play video games, maybe do a little bit of live streaming, maybe make some videos. I suppose it really depends on what opportunities there are. Probably spend quite a bit of time online. Got a couple of jobs that I need to do around the house as well. I always seem to come up at this time of year after winter, so they need sorting out. And apart from that, not a great deal going on. Not going to be going on any holidays, that is for sure. Although I haven't been on holiday for a while because the dog, I'm a single guy and I look after a Labrador. He's getting old and getting to the point where I can't really put him in the kennels anymore, so can't really go on holiday now. So I haven't had a holiday for years, but looking around, looking at the flights, looking at the holiday destinations, don't think that's going to be a viable possibility anyway. So yeah, probably just stay at home, probably just kill time like everybody else is doing. Anyway, I am now completely waffling along with nothing better to say, so I'm just going to say thank you very much for watching this video. Whatever you do, do take care of yourselves out there, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.